We know that being a geek isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Join us as we invite special guests to share their love for the characters and worlds that shaped them. Are you ready? It's time to let your geek side show. Listen along to hear voice actor Kevin Conroy, the talent behind the 90s animated Batman, share stories about his career in this exciting live stream interview. Join us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Sideshow Live with Mr. Kevin Conroy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Kevin, of course, I'm already messing up, is the definitive voice of both Batman and Bruce Wayne. So from Batman the Animated Series to the Arkham video games, he is the Bat. Yes?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So it's such an honor for us to have you on the show. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Just so you guys know, we will be taking questions from the audience in a little bit, so be sure to have all of those questions for Kevin ready. But first, we have a couple that we wanted to start you out with,
Sure.
if that's okay. First of all, let's go back to the beginning. How did you meet Batman, and what was that first audition like?
You know, it was an amazing experience. It just doesn't happen that way because there are so many different ways to get into voiceover work. Mm-hmm. I was a theater actor in New York. I went to Juilliard, classic training, and thought that was going to be my life, you know. And then I realized pretty quickly that you can't make a living in the theater. You've got to supplement it with something else, you know. So I started doing television and commercial work and voiceover work in New York while I was doing plays at night. And I came to LA to do a series, a few episodes on a series, and I had a voiceover agent who said, "Oh, look, they're putting together a new show over together at Warner Brothers. Why don't you go and give it a shot?" I said, "I've never done an animated character." He said, "Well, just give it a shot. It's a Batman." I said, "New?" I said, "Batman's been around forever. Hasn't that show been on?" I didn't even know it had never been an animated show. That's how naive I was to it. So I went in and I met Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Andrea Romano. You know, I'm meeting the royalty.
Yes.
But everybody was in their 20s, you know, we were all kids. But I had no idea who I was meeting. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get nervous. I didn't have any apprehensions. I didn't put any tension on myself because and Bruce even said, what is your familiarity with Batman? I said, well, the only thing I know about him is really the Adam West show from the 70s. And he said, no, that's not what we're doing. That's not the direction we're going. He said, erase your mind. You know, we love Adam, but that's not what we're doing. And he explained to me that it was, you know, very film noir. It was dark. It was tragic. It was an epic story of avenging parents' death and living a dual identity in the shadows and this tragic, heroic arc. And I said, well, you're telling the Hamlet story, you know? And he said, well, no one said that before. And I said, well, let me just use my imagination. So I was in the booth with no kind of tension or apprehensions because it was all just improvising in a booth.
Wow. And
I put myself into the head of, you know, the experience of what seeing that as a child would have been like. And this sound came out. And I just started doing it. And I looked up in the booth. I could see everyone was just staring at me. And then I saw Andrea and Bruce start running back and forth. And I thought, well, I've either done something really wrong or really right. Because there's a big reaction going on in there. They either hate it or they love it. And Andrea told me later, she said, we had seen 700 people. Wow. They had been looking for months.
Oh, my gosh.
But I think it was just that, you know, I just approached him the way I would approach any classic Shakespearean character or Greek. You know, he's Orestes, he's Achilles, he's Hamlet, he's a tragic. He's our culture's answer to those great mythological characters. It's exactly what Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all those things are contemporary mythology. It's how we teach young people about morality. You know, it's the same way the classics, the ancients did. And so I approached it with that kind of seriousness and that kind of attitude. And it's just because I think I had no preconceptions, that it was just one of those fortuitous situations where a certain actor with a certain background happens to walk into an audition that's kind of set up for him, in terms of what they're looking for.
It's like your path was leading you to this room.
Exactly. I'd love to take all kinds of credit for it, but I think it was really that just paths were leading to that room. And then it was Batman the Animated Series, which was 92. And they buy things 10 episodes at a time. So we didn't know how long this was going to last. There were no guarantees that it would be more than a season. Then they buy another 10, then they buy back 9, then they buy maybe 15. And this is a bit by bit by bit. And then you're in the second season, then you're in the third season. And then they decide they're going to do Batman and Robin, the new iteration. And then it's Batman Beyond. He's old Bruce Wayne, and he has to, pass the mantle on to Will Friedle. And then it was the Justice League. So it kept growing. And then the Arkham games came along. And it grew over time like that. So that you look back, everyone says, what's it like to be a part of something for 27 years? And I think, well, you don't know you're going to be a part of it for 27 years until you're in the 27th year. And then you look back and you go, wow, look what I've been a part of, It happens day by day by day, like life, You look back and you think what you've accomplished. You don't think about accomplishing it along the way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Wow. You touched on the various versions of Batman that you've done over the 27 years you've been a part. How do you define each version, and do you approach it differently?
It's interesting. I get asked that a lot, is how he's changed over time. And the thing I found is the audience for Batman is so passionate.
Yes.
Incredibly passionate.
Yes.
He's a very iconic character.
Oh, yeah.
He's purely good. He has no superpowers. People love him, and they love the tragedy of him and how he overcame that tragedy. But there's such a devotion to him. There's such an investment. And because he's an animated character, he lives in people's imaginations.
Oh, yeah.
So they're very invested in him. So to fool around with what you've established, the audience would know in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
If you were phoning it in, or if you were screwing around with it somehow, you know what I mean? So for me, the challenge over so many years has been to keep it real, to keep it fresh, to keep it rooted in that dark, that experience of his childhood, so that it's never, it never becomes casual, it never becomes phoned in. I try to keep it authentic. And so for me, the challenge has been keeping it fresh for that many years. And I think having been a theater actor, that's something you learn. Doing the show 8 times a week, every night it's got to be the first time for that audience. So every night you've got to, come out on stage new. And so that's been the way to approach the characters, to keep him real, to keep him fresh, to keep him rooted in that tragedy of childhood. Now, that being said, the one aspect of him that altered a bit is early on, they were describing the character to me because I had to be brought up to speed on everything about him. I said, wait a minute. He's the richest guy in Gotham. He's the most eligible bachelor. He owns half the city. He puts on a mask and no one knows it's him. Seriously? I was like, come on. Can I play with the voice a little bit? I said, shouldn't there be a Batman voice? I mean, shouldn't it be a more complete transition? Yeah. And my inspiration was there was a wonderful film, I think it's from the 40s, called The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Yeah.
Do you know it?
Yes,
it's
I do.
It's a great old movie with Leslie Howard. And he plays this English lord who's like a Robin Hood character.
Yeah.
Who's fighting evil in London. And the way he disguises himself is as a fop. And he's not a fop, but he pretends to be. So no one takes him seriously. He wears wild clothes and loud colors, and he's very flamboyant. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was that kind of distinction between Batman and Bruce Wayne? If Batman was the authentic, the pain of that youth, but when he's behaving in public, putting on a suit, like we all put on personas to face the world. You get dressed in the morning. You put yourself together. You put on a persona.
Absolutely.
Everybody does. So I thought, why not have Bruce Wayne be the mask? Why not have so that Batman is the passion, is the heart, the naked heart, and Bruce Wayne is the mask. So he's the society guy, he's the charmer, he's the one that all the ladies want. You know what I mean? And I did that, and I used the Scarlet Pimpernel as my idea, and my actor inspiration was kind of like a David Niven character.
Oh, wow.
I made him very wry, very sophisticated, very sarcastic. There was a lot of humor. There was a lot of humor and a lot of sarcasm early on. And then when the show, because we were recording for 6 months before we saw any artwork, because we do the recordings first.
Okay.
So they're recorded like a radio play, and then the recordings are sent off to the artists, and then it's brought, all the artwork's brought back, and you sync it up in a process called ADR.
Oh, wow.
And so the first time we saw the footage was 6 months after recording, so we had a lot of episodes already recorded. Well, once the artwork came back, Bruce Timm said, this show is so dark. It is so noir. It is so, it's such a depth of passion in it.
Oh, yeah.
He said the Bruce Wayne voice you're using is too light. It's too comical. It's too, it's jarring. So they actually had me go back and re-record the first, maybe half a dozen episodes of just the Bruce Wayne sound. And they liked the fact that it was different. They liked that idea. But they just wanted to tone down. So he became basically more my voice. And it was just, so it's the kind of tweaking that was done early on. So you asked what changed over time. That changed over time.
Cool. So speaking of being in the studio and recording and everything, we read that you recorded alongside Mark Hamill in the same booth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like? And just if you have any fun anecdotes about that.
Well, if you could, I wish the audience could be with Mark in the booth and see what he does. He's such a talented actor. I only knew of him from Star Wars. And Luke Skywalker was fantastic. It was wonderful. But he was like a nice young man. He was a nice young leading man. And then I got to work with him and I realized Mark is a character actor. He's really a character actor.
Okay.
And so he grew into these roles as he got older. And to watch him inhabit the Joker, he doesn't play the Joker. He inhabits the Joker. And in the booth,
kind of scary.
Well, it is, because how Jim Carrey has that rubbery face that just goes off. Mark has the same thing. Mark is in the booth and he's like, well, Daddy. And he's like, it becomes the Joker. Over here, that brain. And you're like, stay on that side of the booth. Just stay over there, and I'll stay over here. And you're in this tiny booth together.
Yeah.
And he's all over the place, and he's like devouring the microphone. And you think, good Lord, just get me out of here.
Did it change the way you played Batman?
Oh, absolutely. That's what's so wonderful about him. He's a stage actor, too.
Yeah.
And stage actors, there's just a difference between stage and film acting. Film acting tends to be more, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's very isolated.
You have to fill a space on stage.
Yeah, you're filling a space on stage, and also you learn early on, the more you give, the more you get. It's like playing ball when you were a little kid in the playground. You wanted to get a volley going, you know what I mean? The more generous actors are the more fun ones to work with. Mark is a hugely generous actor. He knows that the more he gives me, the more I'm going to give him back. And that gives him more to work with, you know what I mean? The more selfless you are in certain things in life, I've found, the more reward you get. The instinct is to be selfish for a lot of people. A lot of actors, it's a very egotistical kind of world. You are your instrument, you're selling yourself, you're competing with other actors. There's a tend to get very self-absorbed. If you can get past that, and you can give, you will get so much more back. And Mark is really aware of that. He's a very, very generous guy. I can see him. He gets really excited the better I get. I could see him watching me, and he's like, And then I just love watching him. I love when he goes crazy. He's a wonderful actor. But, that all comes from also Andrea Romano. She was the casting director who put all those early shows together. she has a great sense of how to get the right people in the room. Because let's face it, there are a dozen people who could play any role, you know? It's getting the right actor for the role, who not only plays the role right, but who can work with other actors well, who can give, who can improvise and be spontaneous in the booth. So, you know, Melissa Gilbert or Adrienne Barbeau or John Glover. Oh, John Glover was insane. Richard Mull. There were all these, Ron Perlman. I mean, there were all these amazing actors every week. Gene Smart came in at one point. Ice-T came in. I said, "What are you doing here? You're a rapper." You know, before he did Law and Order.
Yeah.
And he said, "You kidding? My kids are going to go crazy when they see me on this show." So it was just amazing. Once word got out about what a fun show it was to do, Andrea said it made her job easy, because any calls she made, people went, you know, "I'll be there."
Yeah.
"Great, can I do it?"
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there any Batman storyline that you would want to tackle that you haven't yet already tackled?
I do hope that they do Hush someday. That would be.
Oh my God.
That'd be great. I'm not putting out a rumor though. There's no rumor.
There's
no rumor there. There's no plans to do it.
Oh my gosh. Hush.
No. But it would just be. I hope that someone at the studio is listening. I would love to do that. That'd be cool.
Hush is one of my favorite all-time.
But The Killing Joke was sort of a bucket list.
Yeah.
That was great. I
was so good.
I loved doing that.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that. I was so proud of that ending, the way that ended, that confrontation between Mark and myself.
Wow. I feel like just talking to you.
But interestingly,
Okay.
that Killing Joke was a good example of sort of an aberration happening, because Mark was doing the Star Wars. You know, he's on this new Star Wars thing. His on-camera career is, you know, resurgent, and he was in London. So it was the one time we did not record together. We didn't record together, but they knew that I knew what he would do, and he knew what I would do. We know each other so well. Everyone assumes that we were in the booth together for that, because
it never
the
occurred to me that you wouldn't have been.
Is there?
Yeah.
But that's only because we've been doing it for over 25 years, because we couldn't be there together.
It makes me think of what would have happened if you had done The Killing Joke first, because that storyline is so, with the Batman and the Joker, you need to have that back and forth with each other.
We know each other really well
That's so great.
now, so it works. It worked.
Wow. Okay, so your voice brought an animated Batman to life. So in so many respects, like, you are the Batman in a lot of people's imagination.
Yes, the brainwashing worked.
We're wondering, who's Batman in your imagination? Like, is it still your own voice, or do you see another person or hear another person?
That's weird.
This question came from...
I kind of hear myself, I think.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm in my own head.
Yeah.
You know? But who would I like to see a live action Batman? I think I would like to see... You know who would be wonderful? Because you always have to think of who would do Batman and Bruce Wayne. Who would get both sides of it? And a lot of people get one side and not the other.
Yes.
Hugh Jackman would be great.
Yeah.
He would be great.
He would be great. Because he can like do the...
He can do both.
Yeah.
He can do both.
He can even do the Batusi if you really wanted to go back and have him.
But you know, George Clooney was fantastic. He's fantastic at it. He does get both.
Yeah.
But Hugh Jackman would be great. And you know who would be a great Joker? Xavier Bardem.
Oh my
God! How cool would that be?
Oh my gosh.
He would.
Wow.
He would be great.
That would be so good. Like, I got excited because they're in talks with Joaquin Phoenix to do a Joker.
Oh, really?
And that seems like he could do...
Yeah, he could do it.
He could do it pretty well. And he definitely could put on the makeup and everything. But Javier, oh my God. That would be... He can play crazy so well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So do you collect anything, Batman?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, this is kind of a fun story. When they had the Warner Brothers stores.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
in the malls?
those?
Yeah.
The malls? They were They were a big deal.
Yeah.
And there was one on 5th Avenue and 57th Street, right in the middle of Manhattan. It was a massive 3-story one. Well, all of those stores had galleries in them. And they sold the artwork, the cells. And to promote the show, when you're on a show, part of your deal, part of your contract through SAG, is you have to be available to promote a show without being compensated. It's part of the deal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they said, oh, we want you to go to the Warner Brothers store in LA and sign some cells, and it's to promote the show. Well, I was doing this, and I did it a few times, and then one of the store managers said, well, we broke $60,000 tonight, on the sales. And I said, wait a minute.
What?
There's a lot of money going on
what?
here. I'm promoting this for free, So I said to them, can't you compensate me for these appearances? They said, no. It's part of your contract. No, this is free. I said, oh, well, can't you give me anything? They said, what about a cell? They don't cost you anything. They said, oh, yeah, we'll give you a cell. I said, well, how about 2 cells? So I started getting cells. So I have a really cool collection of cells.
See, and I'm all like, I have 1 cell, and I think that's amazing.
No, I have a great collection of cells.
That's awesome. Wow. I feel like just in talking to you, you've covered so many questions that were on this page.
Well, I tend to kind of run off at the mouth once I start. But I also have a really cool piece of art. I at one point went to the Warner executives' offices to sign something, pay contracts or something. And on a coffee table, there was this wrought iron statue of the skyline of Gotham City. Ooh. All with cutouts. And in back of it was a neon sculpture, neon lights, so that the skyline lights up from behind with green and pink and blue and white lights. And it's Mr. Freeze shooting his freeze gun in the foreground. This is all out of cast iron.
Oh my God.
And he's shooting, and out of the gun is coming a green whoosh, the word whoosh, in green neon. And then Batman in the very front is a pendulum, like a Calder pendulum, like this, swinging through the skyline of Batman like that. And I'm looking at this thing, and I love art. I'm a hobby artist, and I love art. And I looked at this thing, I said, jokingly, I said to them, when you're changing the decoration in here, if you're ever going to put this in storage, can I recommend that it goes into my apartment?
Oh my
Can I put my dibs in on that?
Yeah.
And a year later, they called and they said, we're moving offices and we don't need this anymore, and we would like you to have it.
Wow. And you still have it?
Of
course! That's so cool.
It's really awesome.
Wow, again, you covered so much of this that I think that we can take you to a little break, and then when we come back, we're going to be answering questions from the audience.
Great.
So that's great with you.
Great,
thank you guys so much for watching Sideshow Live. You're going to have a little break, very short, we promise, very short. And then when we come back, Kevin will be answering all of your questions. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around, Kevin. We have a lot of questions from the audience. Apparently, you guys are all big fans of Kevin Conroy right here.
I hope so.
So we're going to start with just a really simple question from Coffee Bound Soul in YouTube. He wants to know, did you ever get to meet Adam West?
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful man. Yes, I met Adam West.
Did he record Grey Ghost?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He did the voice of the Grey Ghost.
Were you guys in the same room?
Well, that's what was weird is he came in and Andrea didn't warn me. She said, "Oh, Adam West is coming in today. He's doing the Grey Ghost." I said, "Adam West." I said, "He was the Batman I grew up with." I said, "Oh my God, this is going to be so weird." So I went up and I said, "It's such a pleasure to meet you." And he said, "I had a blast playing the character. It's your turn now. Have fun. Just run with it. It's a wonderful character." He was so gracious. He was a really class act. That sort of old school Hollywood. Just a really elegant and intelligent actor. Generous. No bull.
Yeah.
And some actors, there's a lot of bull. None with Adam.
Wow.
So I loved working with him.
Oh my gosh. Bill Hecka wants to know, if you could have any character over for dinner from Batman the Animated Series or the Arkham Asylum series, who would it be?
I would have Joker over with some fava beans, nice Cabernet.
Oh,
no,
wow.
I'm just kidding. I don't know who I'd have over. Who would I have over? You know who's an interesting character is Mr. Freeze.
He is.
He's a very passionate,
Very tragic.
Tragic.
Talk about Shakespearean.
Yeah, he and Batman are really cut from the same cloth. So that might be an interesting dinner because he's so obsessed with Nora, the loss of his wife. That'd be interesting.
I think of him as the one bad day character in the Batman universe. Like they're cut from the same cloth, but Mr. Freeze went
the other way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite episode that you've worked on? I imagine they mean from one of the animated shows.
Well, my favorite show of all the shows was Mask of the Phantasm. I think it's the best Batman movie.
Yes.
Live action or animated.
Yes.
It tells the whole story of the genesis of how he became Batman. And then he falls in love with Andrea Beaumont and he realizes what life is about. Life is about love and sharing it with someone. And he wants to be a part of that. And he has this scene at his parents' grave where he's asking them to release him from his vow. And he's begging them to release him from his vow. And at that moment, this screeching flock of bats comes out of the earth and like pulls him back down to his fate. And he knows he can't escape his fate. I mean, I love that movie. There's such a tragic arc to it. It's a great movie. Of the episodes, I like any episode that deals with the Batman psychology because that's what makes him so much fun. He has no superpowers. He's a damaged soul who deals with that damage by trying to heal the world. Not just healing himself, but healing the world. And so I love things that go back into his childhood, the source of the damage. And there's an episode called Perchance to Dream, which I just love.
I know that one.
That story. And I also got to play, young Bruce, old Bruce, Batman, drugged Batman, Thomas Wayne Sr. I did 5 different voices in that one episode.
That's a great.
It's a fun episode. And I got to act with myself, so.
Are you a good co-star?
I was
generous?
a fabulous co-star. I was very generous with me. But enough about me. What do you think of me?
Well, we all think you're wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Do you own a bat suit?
No.
What?
There's a funny story there.
Okay, let's hear this.
I once owned a bat suit. God,
Did it
it's
fit you?
embarrassing.
Oh.
I used to do a lot of work with foster kids on weekends.
Okay.
Taking them to Disneyland, taking them there. And they live in this facility east of LA. And these are kids who've been through hell, and taken out of their homes. And so you take them out on the weekend, you have some fun. And it was going to be Halloween. There was going to be a party. And they found out what I did. And they said, wear the suit. Would you wear the suit? And I said, I don't have. Oh, come on! You have the bat suit. You're Batman. I said, I didn't know. I didn't want to disillusion them, so I went to a party store. How pitiful is this? And I bought a Batman suit. And I'm driving in my Volvo station wagon on the freeway
Oh my God.
to the Halloween party at the village with the kids. And because I couldn't get there and go into a bathroom and put it on.
Right.
I had to arrive, and make a big entrance as Batman. So these truckers are going by me on the 10 freeway. Hey, Batman!
Oh my God.
Tell Alfred to wash that car. I was getting such crap on the highway. And I'm sinking down in the seat, But I got there and I got out of the car and they came running out of the place and down the hill. Like, we knew you'd do it, and they tackled me and they were so happy. So it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Wow. Oh.
So that's the only time I've worn the bat suit.
And did you keep that Party City bat suit, or is it long gone?
I didn't. I gave it away.
Oh. Wah wah. Do you have a favorite Batman villain or a favorite Batman sidekick?
Well, my favorite villain has to be Joker because Batman and Joker are like yin and yang for each other. He defines me and I define him. Neither of us would be who we are without the other. They're really interesting, how they relate. And especially working with someone as talented, as generous as Mark. That was so lucky. So he would definitely be my favorite villain. But, you know, the Batman, sometimes I think I get a lot more credit than I deserve, because it's really more about the villains than about the hero, a lot of it. The villains have most of the drama. There are episodes where I've had like 20 lines, you know, and the rest of it's all Joker. But what's been amazing is Catwoman and Harley Quinn and Joker and Two-Face and Clayface and Man-Bat and Mr. Freeze. It's just that's what was so brilliant about the Arkham games, is someone came up with this idea, wait a minute, Batman doesn't ever kill anybody because on principle he doesn't kill. He puts them all away in Arkham. So this incredible cast of lunatics is there to be used. So let's have him go in and get stuck there and try and get out. And that was the genesis of the Arkham games, which was, you know, brilliant idea. And then came a whole new chapter in doing the character, which is the last few years doing the Arkham games.
So the Batman statue collector, that's his username, wants to know if you have a personal favorite story arc in the Arkham games.
Just as an actor, the one I'm the most proud of is Arkham Knight, the culmination of the trilogy. The ending is so dramatic, and it was a performance I was really proud of. And it shocked me when I read it, how it was going to resolve. I loved Arkham Knight. So that's my favorite, just as an actor in terms of performing it.
That's awesome. And which portrayal of Bruce Wayne is your favorite? Specifically Bruce Wayne, Mr. M9991 would like to know.
You know, he wasn't explored as much over the years. I guess the best one would have been early on, probably Mask of the Phantasm. There was a lot of Bruce Wayne in that, and a lot of him dealing with the loss of his parents, and then the whole courtship with Andrea Beaumont. So that was a really interesting one for Bruce Wayne. So that would probably be my favorite Bruce Wayne version.
Awesome. Have you ever used your Batman voice to scold people or scare people in your real life?
What are you talking about? Only my dog. Angus!
That's awesome. So this is actually a pretty good Batman question. If Batman had to save either Alfred or Robin but couldn't save both, who would he save?
No pressure.
Yeah.
That's evil.
Sinister Statues is
Sinister is his name?
Yeah.
That's a sinister question.
I think Two-Face wrote that question.
Yeah, I think Two-Face wants you to flip the coin.
Wow. Who would I save?
Wow.
I don't know. I can't answer. I mean, it's like choosing a child. Sophie's Choice. How do you choose?
Would you save Alfred hoping that Robin could take care of himself?
Yeah, but he's hypothetically saying you can only save one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to create a situation where I save Alfred and Robin, you know, manages to get himself out of it. I can't answer it. That's a Sophie's Choice. I can't answer it.
Yep.
Because Alfred's really his surrogate father.
Oh, yeah.
And Robin is his surrogate son. So that's brutal. That's brutal.
It's got dark.
It's got very, very dark.
Yeah, it's very dark.
So Joe Lombardo wants to know which would be next for Kevin and Mark, Hush or Death in the Family? Speaking of Robin.
Really. I think according to Mark and myself both, I think we would love either one. Or either one. We would really love
all of us
that.
would also love either one.
Again, that is not to start a rumor. There's no talk at all about that being done.
Do you collect anything non-Batman related?
Well, that's the cool thing. I started collecting the cells, and then they let me go into the vault. And Warner Brothers has a vault where they hand-pick certain cells. So there were Chuck Jones and
Oh my gosh!
signed Chuck Jones.
Oh my gosh!
And Carrot Blanca. Do you remember the episode Carrot Blanca? It's a Looney Tunes episode
It's a
where
noir
they're
episode.
all doing the Sidney Greenstreet and the Humphrey Bogart. They're all doing the different characters. Bugs Bunny is Humphrey Bogart, and Tweety is it's fantastic. Tweety is Peter Lorre. I got a bunch of those, so I started getting in the Flintstones and Jetsons. I mean, once I got in the vault, I was like, yeah, I'll take one of those and two of those.
my gosh! Wow. Awesome.
I know.
And then, what is your favorite item that you've ever had to sign for a fan?
A breast. That was fun. She said she was going to have it tattooed. Favorite
Did you
item.
draw the bat symbol? Or?
Yeah, did you write "I am Batman"? And then it just said that forever.
Favorite item I've ever had to sign. It's an interesting question. There's all kinds of stuff. It's amazing stuff that people collect. A lot of the most fun stuff to sign is the original artwork that people do themselves. There are a lot of really talented artists,
Yeah.
especially in the Batman fan base, and they'll have me sign something that they've done themselves, which is really quite beautiful.
That's pretty amazing to have your. That's really touching. Thomas Benson would like to know, what's your favorite Batman nickname that a villain has called you?
Oh, I love when Joker calls me Bat Brain. Ooh, Bat Brain.
Wow.
So that's fun.
And then, are there any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
I can't, unfortunately.
I was gonna say.
I am doing something new, non-Batman related, that is really quite wonderful, that has not been announced, that I can't talk about,
Well, there you go.
unfortunately.
And then we're getting a couple more like non-Batman related questions. So, do you have any good stories from working on yoga hosers?
Hosers.
Hosers. I've never heard of this. What?
Oh, it's Kevin Smith's movie.
Oh!
Kevin Smith is
A huge fan.
truly talented, like genius.
Yeah.
And he called and asked if I would do his podcast, Fat Man on Batman. He does
yeah.
Fat Man on Batman.
Yes.
We had an hour and a half together where we just covered everything. And he gets you, because he's very passionate. He gets to the point, I mean, tears are coming to his eyes as he's talking about the storyline and the character. So he gets you to reveal things about yourself. I was talking about things from my childhood that I don't talk about easily. So we were. It was a very interesting conversation. And after that, he asked if I would do yoga hosers. I thought, wow, how cool it would be to work with Kevin. But it was, it's a cameo, it's a walk-on. And the joke was that my sidekick was called Robin. And, I snuck in a little bit of the Batman voice in the character. So it was just a little sort of cameo that was fun to do.
And that's really cool. So someone else is asking about you had roommates at Juilliard who were also famous.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Robin Williams and Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey was not a roommate. Kelsey was a friend. He was in my class. It was an amazing class. It was Robin Williams, Kelsey Grammer, Francis Conroy, Diane Venora, Harriet Harris. I mean, it was a wonderful cast of people who went on to have interesting careers. Robin and I lived together for 2 years, and we were both two of the full scholarship students. But he was like 4 or 5 years older than me. He'd already been through college. He was their postgraduate, and I had left high school a year early and got a scholarship to go. So I was like 17. There's a world of difference between 17 and 22.
Oh, yeah.
It's like generational, you know. He was having these involved, tortured relationships with women, and I was popping pimples in the bathroom. I mean, we were in such different planets of experience. I was 6'2", and I had a really deep voice. Most people, I don't think, realized how young I was and how. And my parents had gotten divorced when I was a kid, and the family had kind of dissolved, so there was nowhere to go back to. So I needed that full scholarship, and I was working as a waiter around the corner from the apartment. It was really, living on ramen noodles time. And Robin was too. He was doing mime in front of the Metropolitan Museum. And the funniest thing is he came back one day and he was really furious. And he said, this other mime, he said I was taking his territory, and he wouldn't let me use the steps in front of the museum, and I was pushing in on his room, and he was pushing me back. I said, wait a minute. This is a battle of mimes? You were fighting as mimes?
Oh my God.
He said, yeah, it really got bloody.
Silent?
I said, can I come tomorrow and watch? This would be fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Isn't that great?
Oh my gosh. So with such an amazing background and being at Juilliard, who were the people that you looked to moving forward in your career? Who were your inspirations going into theater and then moving into television and voice acting?
I didn't know what I was doing. To be honest, I was putting one foot in front of the other. I worked so hard to get through Juilliard, and the first show I did afterwards was for John Houseman and the acting company. It was a production of King Lear, and I was playing Edgar, and I was really proud of it. And we opened off Broadway in New York, and the Clive Barnes wrote, Kevin Conroy's Edgar is like watching a crab twitching on hot sand. That was their first review. And I was 21, and I thought, oh my God, it hasn't started yet, and it's over already. I've been panned. And I was alone in my dressing room. Everyone had gone out. I thought the theater was empty. And I hear from the doorway of the dressing room John Houseman's voice. He was still wandering around the theater. He said, there comes a time in every man's life when he must put one foot in front of the other and get on with the business of living. You have arrived at such a moment. Now get out of here and have fun. And I thought, that's so true.
Wow, can we just keep that sound clip forever?
There are times in your life when you just put one foot in front of you. So I've done that often. I've done so much of... I always think of the John Lennon line, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. How many in this room knew what they would be here 20 years ago or 10 years ago? They didn't.
No.
None of us know. So whenever I'm talking at Comic-Cons, I always tell the young people, get an education. You have no idea how important it is, because what you think you're going to do is not what you're going to do.
Right.
Life throws nothing but curveballs. That's all it throws.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd need math. Who needs math if you're an actor? Well, you're an independent contractor as far as the IRS is concerned. You've got to have budgets. You've got to have books. Do you know how many actors I know who made millions of dollars and died bankrupt, broke, because they got ripped off? Or sports stars? You hear those stories all the time. You have to be running your own books. You have to know what you're doing. And then I have a family member who's disabled, so I do the books for them. I take care of them. So, you find out in life that suddenly you've got to be a mathematician, Life just throws curveballs. So I had no idea how I got to where I am. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And somehow fate or something was guiding me and helping me along the way.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Let Your Geek Side Show. For even more ad-free pop culture news and content, visit geeksideshow.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let your geek side show.